on August 26, 1071, the great Seljuk Sultan Alp Arslan defeated the Byzantine Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes at the Battle of Manzikert. This event marked a significant turning point in world history. Within a decade of the battle, the Seljuks swiftly gained control of Anatolia. During this period, the Byzantine Empire suffered major territorial losses. Faced with political instability, economic collapse, and external threats, Emperor Alexios I Komnenos of Byzantium appealed to Pope Urban II for assistance in 1081. With the Pope's support, he sought to counter the Seljuks and protect holy sites, such as Jerusalem, from Muslim control. However, internal challenges in the West, mutual distrust between East and West, and difficulties in organizing the crusade delayed the response to his call for 14 years. By 1195, Pope Urban II issued a call to Christians at the Council of Clermont to join the crusade. The Pope's appeal not only influenced the nobility, but also resonated deeply with the common people. Initially, an unorganized group of commoners set out on what became known as the People's Crusade. However, due to a lack of discipline and preparation, this effort failed. In contrast, the main Crusader armies, composed of knights, nobles, and soldiers from various nations, departed from Western Europe in an organized manner in 1096. Although the Knights Templar are officially recognized as having been founded in Jerusalem in 1118 by Hugues de Payan and 8 companions, their roots can arguably be traced back to the First Crusade in 1096, when organized forces first began their unified efforts. History describes a small group of volunteer soldiers, 9 knights, who came together with the stated purpose of protecting crusaders and holy sites. But how could a mere handful of knights possibly protect a crusader army numbering between 60,000 and 100,000 men? Clearly, they could not. It seems evident that this was not their true mission. So what was the real purpose of the Knights Templar? How did they intend to use the immense wealth they would come to possess? Were they truly just a small, devout group of knights acting as a protective force? Or were they pursuing a deeper, hidden mission under this guise? In June 1099, the Crusaders besieged Jerusalem and captured the city in just 1 month. Following the conquest of Jerusalem, the Crusaders established their own governance in the city and proclaimed the Kingdom of Jerusalem. This kingdom became a fortress symbolizing Christian Europe's presence in the Middle East. Years after their initial activities in Jerusalem, the Knights Templar officially gained the status of a military religious order in 1118. They transitioned from being an informal group to an organized order and embarked on an esoteric quest that went beyond their historical roles. Secretly, they sought the lost technologies or ancient knowledge of earlier civilizations, as it was likely that the church and rulers considered such knowledge dangerous. Specifically, any information or discoveries that contradicted the dogmas of the Roman Catholic Church could lead to the questioning of religious authority. Since the Knights Templar were officially tasked with protecting the Christian world, such esoteric or secret activities had to be concealed from the authorities and society of the time. However, on the other hand, the discovery of ancient knowledge or sacred relics would undeniably make the Knights Templar spiritually independent and politically powerful. The Knights Templar initially turned to the Torah and the Old Testament, closely examining the story of Noah's flood. They established connections with groups in the Middle East, particularly the Druze and Sabians, as these groups preserved and translated texts that reference ancient civilizations. Additionally, the Templars delved into Greek and Roman writings, gaining access to works by Plato and others, which led them to writings about lost civilizations such as Atlantis. The Templars pursued the lost energy technologies attributed to advanced ancient civilizations and sought powerful artifacts like the Ark of the Covenant. By studying the belief systems and philosophies of these advanced societies, they aimed to bring an end to Europe's Dark Ages and initiate a new era of enlightenment. In France, the Knights Templar collaborated closely with influential figures such as Saint Bernard de Clairvaux. Saint Bernard, who worked on the principles and rules of the order, played a pivotal role in shaping their spiritual and organizational foundations. Likewise, wise figures of the time, such as Rashi of Troy, provided guidance to the Templars. These individuals shared historical and esoteric knowledge with them, offering clues about the existence of sacred relics and artifacts buried in specific regions. They would say, "These artifacts are buried in these locations. Go and find them," thereby directing the Templars' explorations. As a result, the Templars conducted excavations in specific locations, confident they would uncover something of great importance. This collaboration influenced not only their military mission, but also gave them a mystical and intellectual purpose. Over time, we can discern clearer traces of deeper, long-term plans tied to the order's foundation. They discovered boxes or chests depicted on the walls of ancient Egyptian temples. Moreover, they uncovered mysterious substances referred to as manna. The Knights Templar did not use alchemy solely to amass material wealth. They also employed it as a means of rediscovering sacred and ancient knowledge. In this context, it is suggested that they possessed the knowledge to produce and utilize miraculous substances like manna through alchemy. In esoteric and alternative historical narratives, manna is often portrayed as a sacred energy source or a divine power. Particularly in myths surrounding the Knights Templar and lost civilizations, manna is associated with mystical energy or spiritual wisdom. In the Middle Ages, relics or remains of holy figures held great religious significance and were believed to carry the spiritual power of the saints. The Knights Templar discovered tombs of sacred individuals and collected these relics. Their aim was to enhance their spiritual authority in Europe and use these relics in their own esoteric rituals. During their missions in Jerusalem, they conducted excavations, particularly in the remains of Solomon's Temple, and encountered texts and relics related to Egypt. Through these excavations, they uncovered ancient texts, sacred artifacts, or lost technologies. However, such discoveries were known only to the highest-ranking members of the Knights Templar. The legend of Atlantis describes a civilization with advanced technology and profound wisdom that was destroyed in a catastrophic event. Upon learning that survivors of this catastrophe had carried their knowledge to Egypt, the Knights Templar embarked on a journey to Egypt in search of traces of this civilization. The Grand Master of the Templar lineage, Timothy Hogan, explains, "They knew that the Ark of the Covenant was not just a single artifact. At the Dendera Temple in Egypt, there were 4 such arks. These arks were used in different regions of Egypt to protect the country." The Knights Templar were fully aware that Europe was under the complete control of the church and monarchies. People had no access to free thought, religion, or the freedom to assemble. Therefore, starting in the 1200s, they transported these treasures to America to establish a new system and safeguard them. This suggests that the Knights Templar were aware of the American continent long before Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492. the continent was already known to pre-Columbian civilizations such as Native Americans, Inuits, Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas. By the 1350s, the Knights Templar possessed a complete map of North America. They traveled to the New World, formed connections with the native peoples, brought these artifacts, and established a new system to ensure their preservation. Ultimately, through their explorations, the Knights Templar brought a total of 6 arks to America, and to this day, 4 of them remain undiscovered. In his work Parzival, written in 1200, Wolfram von Eschenbach mentions a group that closely resembles the Knights Templar. He describes these knights as the guardians of the Holy Grail, endowed with high spiritual values and chosen by God. According to the text, the knights who protect the Holy Grail fulfill both a military and a religious mission, drawing parallels to the Knights Templar. Furthermore, Eschenbach defines the Holy Grail not as a traditional chalice or vessel, but as a mystical stone believed to possess spiritual and mystical powers. The knights guarding this stone are depicted as undertaking a divine mission under its influence. The Temple of Edfu, constructed over 180 years, is one of the best preserved and most significant temples of ancient Egypt. Situated on the west bank of the Nile River in the modern town of Edfu, this temple is regarded as one of the architectural masterpieces of Egypt's Greco-Roman period and is dedicated to the god Horus. Another striking feature of the Temple of Edfu is the inscriptions covering its walls. Known as the Edfu texts, these inscriptions include religious ideas passed down from earlier eras. For modern scholars, these texts are an invaluable resource, as they have been instrumental in understanding older religious traditions and sources. Some theorists suggest that the symbols and designs used in the temple may be connected to energy production or transmission. The Edfu texts reinforce the idea that ancient Egypt served as a custodian of knowledge inherited from a lost civilization. Furthermore, the inscriptions on the temple walls have been linked to legends surrounding Atlantis and other lost civilizations. These texts refer to places known as the Primordial Islands, described as sacred lands where the gods once resided and where the earliest civilizations emerged, only to be destroyed by a great catastrophe. It is said that the gods safeguarded the surviving knowledge from this destruction and carried it to other regions. This narrative has drawn comparisons to the story of Atlantis, an advanced civilization said to have been destroyed by a catastrophic event, first described by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. Both the legend of Atlantis and the account of the primordial islands in Edfu detail advanced civilizations wiped out by disaster. In both cases, the knowledge of these civilizations is preserved by survivors and transported to other regions. Additionally, the sacred islands in the Edfu texts and Atlantis share a foundational role as the cradle of civilization. Esoteric and New Age thinkers have interpreted the Edfu texts as a reflection of the Atlantis legend within the cultural framework of ancient Egypt. Some theories propose that after Atlantis's collapse, its survivors founded civilizations such as ancient Egypt. Although there is no direct evidence linking the Atlantis legend to the Edfu texts, the parallels between the two stories have led to interpretations suggesting that the texts offer clues about Atlantis's mythological past. The king's chamber inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, along with the granite sarcophagus it contains, has been the subject of much speculation throughout history. The Ark of the Covenant, described in the Bible as the sacred chest built by Moses to house the stone tablets, is said to have dimensions that correspond to those of the granite sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid, based on biblical measurements. For this reason, Some theorists have suggested that the granite sarcophagus was intended as a placement area for the Ark of the Covenant. When the Templars made these discoveries in Jerusalem during the 1300s, they fully understood the significance of their findings. The Knights Templar believed that these discoveries and artifacts should remain hidden until a time when humanity would be capable of fully comprehending their importance. They trusted that future generations would recognize their true value. Over time, the Templars evolved beyond being merely a warrior order, becoming one of the wealthiest and most influential organizations in Europe. By creating an early form of banking, they provided financial services to pilgrims participating in the Crusades, which significantly enriched the order. According to some sources, the Knights Templar are also believed to have adopted Gnostic beliefs. Gnosticism asserts that individuals can attain divine knowledge through personal effort, independent of the Church. This notion, which implies direct access to God without the mediation of the Church, was in stark opposition to the Catholic doctrines of the time. By the early 14th century, the esoteric knowledge, wealth, and independence of the Knights Templar had become a significant threat, particularly to King Philip IV of France. The king was grappling with economic difficulties, and the order's allegiance to the Pope limited his authority over them. However, through an alliance between Pope Clement V and King Philip, serious accusations were brought against the Templars, including charges of heretical beliefs and rituals, immorality, possession of esoteric knowledge, betrayal, and rebellion. On October 13, 1307, by the order of King Philip, the leaders and members of the order were arrested across France. Under torture, the Templars were forced to confess to these accusations, and these confessions were used against them in public trials. The last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Jacques de Molay, along with other leaders, confessed under duress to charges of heresy, blasphemy, and conducting secret rituals. On March 18, 1314, Jacques de Molay was publicly executed in Paris, burned alive at the stake. A decision was made to transfer the Templars' assets to another religious order. The Hospitaller Knights received the largest share during this transfer. The new orders that inherited these assets were required to use them for the benefit of the Church, as mandated by the Pope. In other words, the wealth was not to be used for personal gain, but was to be managed for religious purposes. As part of the investigation ordered by Pope Clement V, not all Knights Templar were present or involved. While the charges against the Knights Templar were primarily initiated by King Philip IV of France, the investigations targeted only the Templars in France and a few other regions. Many Knights Templar in other parts of Europe were either not interrogated or were unaware of the accusations. Although Pope Clement, under pressure from the king, called for the trial of the Knights Templar across the Christian world, this initiative did not have the same level of impact in other countries. In nations like England, Spain, and Portugal, investigations into the Knights Templar were conducted, but the process was generally less severe, and there were no mass arrests like those in France. The remaining Templars managed to preserve their power by safeguarding their esoteric knowledge, sacred relics, and treasures, which they had reportedly been hiding in North America since the 1200s. The region of Oak Island in Nova Scotia, Canada, is renowned for claims that it may have been a hiding place for the treasures and sacred relics of the Knights Templar. In particular, the Money Pit, a famous excavation site on the island, is said to contain Templar symbols and structures. Some historians speculate that the Templars might have reached North America using maps associated with the Vikings. The Kensington runestone, discovered in 1898 near Kensington in the U.S. state of Minnesota, is a stone inscribed with runic writing. These inscriptions are claimed to indicate that the Vikings reached America long before Columbus. The stone includes the following lines: "We are 8 Swedes and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey westward from Vinland. We camped by a lake with 2 small rocky islands, a day's journey north from this stone. One day, we went out fishing. When we returned, we found 10 of our men dead and covered in blood. Ave Virgo Maria, protect us from evil. To tend to our ships, 10 of our group are at the sea, 14 days' journey from this island. The year is 1362. This inscription has led us to reconsider our understanding of the pre-Columbian Viking presence, confirming that they reached as far as Canada, where traces of their activities have been discovered, and ventured inland as far as Minnesota. The enigmatic structure of the Knights Templar, their extensive knowledge network established in Europe, and the insights they obtained from various cultures demonstrate that they possessed one of the most advanced information networks of their time. It is believed that the surviving members of the Knights Templar preserved the legacy of their order by continuing to exist as a secret organization or community passed down through generations. This theory supports the notion that they may have hidden their ancient knowledge and sacred relics in an unknown and inaccessible location, awaiting a time when humanity would be ready to understand the power and significance of these secrets. These artifacts and knowledge are believed to be far more than ordinary material treasures. They are sacred values thought to contain the profound secrets of human history, universal consciousness, and spiritual evolution. The notion that the Knights Templar carefully safeguarded and preserved these secrets for the benefit of future generations reflects their deep dedication to both knowledge and humanity. This theory suggests that the Knights Templar were never truly erased from history, but instead endure as a mysterious legacy, waiting for the time when humanity becomes worthy of these ancient truths. Perhaps these secrets are being protected in the shadows of history, patiently awaiting the moment that will mark a turning point in humanity's journey toward enlightenment. See you in the next video.